As first responders, you answer the call without hesitation, day after day. But what happens when the echoes of those calls begin to weigh you down, affecting not only your work, but your mind and body? Trauma isn't just a part of the job. It's a force that can change your life if left unprocessed. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to dive into the truth about trauma, its impact, and how to take control of your healing journey before it controls you. And in today's episode, we're going to explore a topic that is often overlooked but deeply important: understanding and managing trauma in first responders. If you've ever felt the emotional weight of your job or noticed the stress is taking a toll on your mental and physical health, you're not alone. Trauma accumulates, and without proper recognition and care, it can affect everything from your relationships to your career. So today we're going to discuss the nature of trauma, how to recognize its signs, and the strategies you can use to cope in a healthy, sustainable way. And by the end of the episode, you're going to have practical tools, including a powerful journaling exercise that will help you process your experiences and take back control of your mental and emotional well-being. Let's get started. Welcome to Shields Down, Healing for First Responders, the podcast supporting those on the front lines as they navigate PTSD and trauma. Each episode brings stories of resilience, expert insights, and tools for recovery, offering hope and a path forward. So put your shield down, reclaim your strength, and remember, you're not alone. So we want to look at understanding trauma in first responders. Now, as first responders, we're routinely exposed to traumatic events. We often experience prolonged stress that can lead to PTSD or other mental health challenges. Now, the repetitive nature of these exposures creates that unique form of trauma, often referred to as cumulative trauma. And recognizing the signs and symptoms early is crucial for managing the impact. Now, the nature of our job as first responders is it's normal, right? First responders, we're likely to face all kinds of trauma because that's what we go into. We go into the burning building, the guns, responding to the medical emergencies, or even talking to people on the phone, war zones. All these different aspects are going to add to trauma, right? We're exposed to reoccurring events. Maybe there's accidents, violence, death, and then this can just build up and build up. And this cumulative trauma differs from acute trauma in that it builds up gradually, making it harder to identify because, you get the acute trauma just hits you and you're like, I have this one thing, it's causing me stress. But then cumulative is these small little things that repeated stressors can leave and just over and over and over again. And this leaves that lasting impact on your mental health. And it'll lead to conditions like PTSD, anxiety, or even depression. But what you want to begin to do is you want to begin to understand the difference between acute and cumulative trauma. Because if you know and you're paying attention to these little traumatic times, it's going to help you. So how do you recognize the symptoms and the signs? Well, first you want to identify it early, right? Seek help before it worsens. And I've said it many times, seeking help is not a weakness, it's a strength. Now, some of the symptoms might include intrusive memories. Maybe you have nightmares, maybe hypervigilance, emotional numbness, irritability, maybe your avoidance of places or situations that trigger those memories. And seeking help is going to give you that next assistance to get you over that next hump, per se. But because of the nature of our job as first responder, we might normalize some of these feelings, right? We'd be like, look, no, I know that I'm more hypervigilant. I sit with my back to the wall so I can see the whole restaurant. How many of you out there do that? I know I do. And that's not normal, right? Most people, they set up restaurants for a reason, and most people don't sit with their back against the wall, needing to see everything. That's hypervigilance. but we've created it as to be something normal within our lives. And it's important to create awareness, because if I recognize that this is how I feel, these are the things I'm doing, I can begin to work on them. Because potential indicators like this can be serious in the long run. So it's so important to have an early intervention. It's so important to recognize and intervene before it gets huge, before it manifests into severe conditions like PTSD. Because burnout, stress, some of these symptoms, hypervigilance, even nightmares, thinking about certain situations, these are somewhat normal for our profession. But if they persist over time, that's when the normal turns into abnormal, and you really need to seek the help that you need. But you want to educate yourself. You want to know, okay, is this normal for me? Do I need to figure out how to overcome this? But you have to look at it within yourself, because we're all on a different journey. We're all on that different path. And what I'm trying to do here is I want to show you that these are symptoms that are across the board, right? They're kind of unique to us as first responders, but you may or may not have them. So don't think when I'm like, all police officers sit with their back against the wall and make sure that they can see, your correctional officers. Maybe you're not like that. And that's great. And I hope that you never get like that, because the world isn't bad, right? The population of this world isn't bad, but when we're constantly, that's all we see, right? Working in the correctional facilities, all I see is inmates. All I see is people that have broken the law. I don't work with anybody else. So I think everybody is like that, or I did, before I began to kind of work on myself and journal and kind of understand that most people aren't there to hurt me, right? They're just trying to get through their day. But unresolved trauma can manifest as physical and emotional symptoms. Things like sleep disturbances, anxiety, irritability, emotional numbness. Just because we're feeling something or thinking something in our mind, that is where it all begins, and it's going to affect you emotionally, it's going to affect you physically, right? You might get things like headaches. Maybe you have stomach issues, frequent illness. Maybe you're sick a lot. This is due not only to the world around you, because, sickness happens. There are bugs out there, viruses and bacteria, but it's also caused to stress, right? You think about, I read about this once, and your body is kind of a protected shield. So if your body's in order, your chakra, as they say in the Buddhist, is like kind of that line of kind of your aura. And if it's all in alignment, it's going to protect you from any illness that's out there, right? A body in disorder is going to cause disease, right? Though someone said it once and it was perfect, is when you have a disease in you, it's because your body is within dis-ease. It's not in perfect form. There's something going on. And don't get me wrong, that's not all things, right? Like my son died of cancer, and I don't think he was in a disorder place. So I'm talking more things like your mental health. Things like you're feeling great one day, and then, you start to get headaches, or you have chronic pain, or these gastrointestinal issues. These things can kind of build up over time, because the body's response to trauma, it can lead to a heightened cholesterol levels and prolonged states of stress, which contributes to that wear and tear on the immune system and the vital organs. Now, the connection between trauma and physical health underlines the importance of addressing your trauma early, so that you prevent this long-term damage to your body. Trauma can also lead to emotional isolation, where you feel disconnected from your loved ones and incapable of expressing their emotions, right? And this sense of detachment may cause misunderstandings. It may increase conflicts within your house or create emotional distance in relationships. I know that within my organization, there's tons of people that have been divorced because their partner doesn't understand what they're going through. And they often connect with other people within the same field because they understand. But that's mainly because people have disconnected from who they were, and they believe that as the first responder is who they are. But you have to learn to disconnect that and say, look, this is my job. This isn't who I am. Partners, friends, family, they don't understand survivors' withdrawal, right? They don't understand that when we've gone through something, we're building something, we want to move forward. Sometimes we isolate ourselves because we feel people don't understand. And this is the time that you need to go and get that proper support. Because unprocessing trauma, it's going to erode trust and intimacy. It's going to contribute to a breakdown in personal and professional relationships. And it's going to be challenging for you to move forward without that proper support. And then in the workplace, when you have this unresolved trauma, it can profoundly impact you on your performance and even your career sustainability. I know there's tons of people off on mental health leave right now within my organization. And when you can't get back to where you want to go, you're gonna miss out on the life that you deserve to live. Right? You when you're not dealing properly with your mental health, you might deal with concentration issues, memory relapses. Maybe you even reduced your problem-solving abilities. And this can result in this decreased productivity and job dissatisfaction. You don't like going to work anymore. You're pissed off. But for first responders, this unresolved trauma, it's going to diminish your capability to handle these high-stress situations, which is our job. And you're going to book off, and you're not going to go into work, and you're even going to probably retire early because you just don't want to deal with this anymore. So you want to create these healthy coping mechanisms for managing trauma, right? You want to develop a personal toolkit, understand what works for you. Things like peer support groups, therapy, mindfulness practices, physical activity, setting boundaries. These things will work for you or may work for you. You got to find what builds. Like I've said before, I can't create a coaching practice because there's no cookie cutter course that'll help everybody. I have courses out there, yes, that'll help some people, and it's going to get your foot in the door, and that's about it. And then you seek that professional help. You work on yourself, and then you become that person that you're looking to become. Right? Often the most effective way to cope with trauma is to seek that support from others. Know that you're not alone. Connect with people who have similar experiences. It's going to foster that sense of camaraderie, validation, and understanding. And it's going to reduce that isolation that we often go into thinking that we're alone. And then if this works, if this doesn't work, try therapy. Whether it's a group-based, professional counseling. Unpack those difficult emotions. Develop healthier thinking patterns. Create personalized coping mechanisms. And then create mindfulness and physical activities like grounding techniques, right? Trauma can leave people feeling very disconnected from ourselves and our emotions. And mindfulness practices really help us bring us back, like meditation, deep breathing. It encourages people to really focus on the here and now. Your past is over, right? Someone said once, and I love the expression, don't live in the past. Your past is a graveyard. Nobody wants to live in a graveyard. And your future is not here yet. So live right now. Live in this moment and create what you want in this moment. And exercise. Do something physical, right? Go for a walk. A nature bath is what it's called when you walk in nature. Is so uplifting and changing. And when you add mindfulness and physical activity, you're going to create this balanced approach to managing your trauma. Another way to do it is to set boundaries. When we're dealing with trauma, it's essential to have these clear emotional and physical boundaries to protect our own mental well-being, right? Because often we get demands, overwhelmed with the demands of work, and then we have relationships and things at home, and then social obligations, and it's going to hinder your healing process. So sometimes it's good just to say no, right? And establishing boundaries means learning to say no when necessary. Delegating tasks. Maybe there's certain things like, someone else, I need to pay someone to do this. and you create that time for personal self-care. Right? These boundaries are going to allow you to focus on your recovery without adding more stress. So it's whether it's limiting exposure to potential triggered environments or maintaining distance from emotional draining individuals. Family, friends, people can drain us, and it's okay to say, look, I need to get a break. Setting boundaries reinforces the self-compassion. It's about you, my friends. Your life matters. So the exercise for today, at the end of your shift, I want you to take 10 to 15 minutes just to write about one moment that impacted you emotionally during your day. Reflect on how it felt, why it impacted you, and what coping mechanism you used or could have used if you didn't use one. And then after writing this, take a few deep breaths. Visualize releasing any lingering emotional weight from this experience. Now, this daily habit can change the way you deal with trauma, and it can help you as first responders process it and build that emotional awareness over time. Now, as first responders, you are constantly giving your all, often without taking time to acknowledge the emotional toll it's taking on you. Remember, trauma doesn't have to define your journey. It's something you can manage and even grow from with the right tools and support. Now, today I uncovered the reality of cumulative trauma, the importance of early identification and intervention, and the impact that unprocessing this trauma can have on your life. Now, most importantly, I discussed healthy coping mechanisms that you can implement today to build this resilience and protect your mental health. Whether it's through that peer support group, mindfulness, setting boundaries, or taking action, that's the key. Right? Take action, because thinking about it without doing it isn't going to change anything. Don't wait, my friends. Don't wait for this job to take control of you. Be proactive in your healing. And don't forget to try out that reflection and release journal exercise we talked about. It's about small daily habits, because when you do these small daily habits, it's going to lead to big change in your life. Thank you for tuning in to Shields Down, Healing for First Responders. Remember, healing is a journey, and each step forward matters. Now, if today's episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories, insights, and tools for recovery. Together, we'll build a stronger, more resilient community. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong, and we'll see you on the next episode.